If you guys want some coins for the new Fut Fantasy promo, please check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself 5% off your order. This supports the channel greatly. So what's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some updated 4-3-2-1 custom tactics and player instructions for you after the new update in FIFA 23. But just before we get into today's video guys, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, as that does really help me out with the YouTube search algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. So starting off with the custom tactics guys, for the defensive style I like to have this on balance. This is because it is the most controlled defensive style you can use. You're able to press when you need to press, and you're also able to drop off and be more conservative when you need to be, so it does give you the very much needed balance in your defensive game. Now moving on to the defensive width guys, I have this on 45. This is so we can primarily defend in a narrow shape because it's important to block the attacks through the middle, but at the same time we still have that natural width to cover the wings to stop any of the wide attacks. Now moving on to the depth guys, I currently use this on 57. This is so our defensive line isn't too deep to the point where we're always getting pinned back, but at the same time the defensive line isn't too high either to the point where we're always getting through balled, so it is nice and balanced and it works very well for me. Now moving on to build up play guys, I do suggest you use this on balance because it is the most suited for all the types of FIFA 23 gameplay you might experience, whether this is fast gameplay, slow gameplay, laggy gameplay. There's so many different types of gameplays. Balanced is the most suited for all of them. When the gameplay is quick, which it very rarely is, fast build up is pretty good, but like I said, the gameplay is usually slower, which is why balanced is much better to use consistently. Now moving on to chance creation guys, I do suggest you use direct passing because it allows your attackers to bunch up against the defenders, meaning you can do those overpowered isolation plays to score lots of goals. It also makes your attackers move to add that extra pass option when you are in the box, which is very important for scoring consistent goals. Now not everybody likes direct passing, but I think the second best option you can use is forward runs. This makes your attackers push very far into your opponent's box. This is very good for some people, but I don't like it because I feel like you're prone to counter attacks a lot of the time. So yeah, direct passing or forward runs based on whatever you prefer is what I do suggest. Now moving on to the attacking width guys, I like to have this on 47. This is so the width isn't too wide to the point where this formation feels like a 4-3-3, but it's not too narrow to the point where our players are sat on top of each other, so it's a nice balanced width which works very well with this formation. Now moving on to players in box, I have this on 6 so we can get some players into the box to create chances, but at the same time we don't overcommit everybody in our team to the point where we get counter attacks, so it's nice and balanced and it works well for me. For corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because there is a corner kick routine that I use that requires me to have these both on 1. There is a link to it in the top right hand corner of the screen if you guys are interested. Now moving on to the players you want to use guys, in the striker position I suggest going for a nice well-rounded striker. This is because it is a one striker formation and you have to compensate for the fact that there is one striker instead of two. In a two striker formation you can get the balance between the two players, but in this formation you have to get the balance all in one player, so I do suggest going for a nice well-rounded player, somebody that can shoot on either foot, somebody that's good at dribbling, shooting, passing, basically good at a bit of everything, so you've got a nice balanced striker. That being said, if you want to use a more one-dimensional player, somebody that's like lengthy and a clunky player but is really good at finishing, that's also fine, but this is just my suggestion. Now moving on to the left forward and the right forward, you're going to want to use winger style players. These are players with pace, players with good skill moves, players that are very good at dribbling, agile, able to pass and shoot of course. You're not going to want somebody clunky and somebody that is not able to create in these positions, otherwise you might struggle to create any chances. There's not too much else to say about them. Now moving on to the left centre mid, I suggest you use a more box-to-box style midfielder. This is somebody that is going to attack and defend, so you're going to want somebody with nice, well-rounded stats. I'm using the flashback Paul Pogba, and if you can get it, a high work rate is super useful as you get the maximum contribution in attack and defence. But for example, this Pogba is a high medium and he still works fine, so work rates are something you should aim for, but if you can't get them, it's absolutely fine. Just go for a good type of player in that position. Now moving on to the middle centre mid, I suggest using more of a CDM type player, somebody that is going to stay back and add defensive support. You're going to want somebody with a medium-high work rate if you can get it, and somebody with great defensive stats, because you're not going to be too bothered about this player's attacking ability. Now, moving on to the right centre mid, I actually suggest you use an attacker. This is because they're not actually going to play as a centre mid in this formation, but this will make sense in the player instructions. So just go for an out-and-out attacker, somebody like Alawaran, Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, any of those types of players in this position. There's not too much else to say there. As for the two fullbacks, I like to have a bit of a balance between the two, where I have Roberto Carlos, who is a more attacking-minded fullback, somebody that is going to add and contribute to our attack, and somebody that is better on the ball. And my right back is somebody that is a bit more defensively sound and is not as good going forward. I just like to have that balance between the two fullbacks, but you guys can do whatever you want there. As for the centre-backs and the goalkeeper, these just need to be as good as you can possibly get them. For the player instructions, guys, on the striker, I just have him on stay central. This is the only instruction I have on him. The reason for this is we don't want this player drifting off to the wide areas, as he is our only striker, so we always need him to be in those central areas where a striker should be. I actually have him on mixed attack instead of getting behind. This is because I don't always want him making those runs in behind, as it makes him feel very disconnected from the rest of the team. When we have him on mixed attack, he gets a bit more involved in the build-up play, which is super important against those higher rated opponents. Mixed attack is much better than getting behind, in my opinion. Now, for the right forward, I have him on stay central and getting behind. The reason I do this is because I don't want him drifting off too wide, otherwise it plays out like a 4-3-3. So by having him on stay central, he still stays a little bit wide, but it's more in those central areas, which is more useful for us. We also have this player on getting behind, so he is always making the best movements, because unlike the striker, we do want to utilize this player. We want to utilize their runs as much as possible, there's not much else to say there. Now, for the left forward, we actually have him on comeback on defense. The reason we do this is because it makes the formation defend in a 4-4-2. So by putting this player on comeback on defense, he comes back to defend as a left midfielder. So the back four will be exactly the same when we're defending, but then in the midfield we'll have Di Maria left mid, Pogba left centre mid, Jorginho right centre mid, and Chiesa right mid, and then Keane and Jorginho will be the two strikers in the defensive formation. We do this because the 4-4-2 is a much better defensive shape than the 4-3-2-1. Now, moving on to the left centre mid, the box-to-box player, we have him on default settings and cover centre. The reason we do this is because we don't want to restrict this player too much. We want him to attack and defend, and we want him to do a bit of everything, which is why we don't restrict him. The only important thing is cover centre, so he does defend as one of the centre mids in this 4-4-2 shape. Now, moving on to the middle centre mid, the more defensive player, we have stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box cross, and cover centre. We have him on stay back while attacking because we don't want this player to go forward, as he is a defensive player. That's why we have him on that. And then we have him on stay on the edge of the box for cross, because let's say he does get dragged forward by the AI automatically. We want him to stay on the edge of the box so he doesn't overcommit into the penalty box. This is just like another insurance option, basically. So if he does end up going forward, he doesn't go too far forward, basically. And we also have him on cover centre, so he defends as one of the centre mids in the 4-4-2. Now, for the right centre mid, the position where I said you guys should use an actual attacker, we have get forward, get into the box cross, and cover wing. We have him on get forward, so he does join the attack because he is an actual attacker, of course. We have him on get into the box for cross, so he is making those transitional runs into the penalty box to get more involved. And we have him on cover wing, so he defends as the right mid in the 4-4-2. Pretty self-explanatory stuff there. Now, for the left back, the more attacking fullback, I have him on balanced attack and overlap. This is so he's not scared to join the attack, and this is basically to add extra width to the attack, because the 4-3-2-1 is still quite a narrow formation, so sometimes we want to get that wider option. So balanced attack means he will go forward, and overlap means he will add the overlapping runs to add width to the attack. Now, for the more defensive fullback, I have him on stay back while attacking and overlap. So the reason we have this on stay back is because we always want at least 3 defenders back, so we will stay back while we are attacking. And then we have him on overlap because let's say I do trigger a run forward with him with L1, he'll make the overlapping runs to add extra width. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, we just have them on default settings and we do not touch them. But yeah, guys, they're my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-3-2-1. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all later.